coming up next. Stay tuned to learn more about the state of the art in blockchain and cryptocurrency technology. Reimagine 2020.
Hey everybody, we're back with another university segment of the Reimagine 2020 Virtual Blockchain Conference. I'm Ashley Meredith, Head of Education at MouseBelt Blockchain Accelerator. And with me today are 5 students who I have personally worked with in the past through our university program. All of these people have been leaders in student blockchain clubs, and now they're entering into some awesome jobs in the blockchain industry. And we're here today to tell all the students who might be watching how they did it and how you can do it too. So thanks everyone for joining. How's everyone doing today?
Good. Doing great.
Not bad.
Good. Well, Adam, why don't we just start with you then? Adam, you've got an internship, right? And have done a lot of community work with blockchain at your campus. You're at Loyola University, correct?
Yeah. So, hello everyone, my name is Adam Patel and I'm the president and founder of blockchain at LUC, Loyola University Chicago's blockchain club. I got interested in this entire space way back in like 2014, 2015. I just started high school and my dad had me building like Bitcoin mining rigs out of our garage. So if it wasn't for my pops, like I would probably not be here because I didn't really have any real world problems that Bitcoin would solve back then or blockchain. But as I got more interested, I fell down the rabbit hole like how most do, got onto crypto Twitter, didn't stop learning really, kept reading. And come college time, I was itching to find a way to leave an impact on Loyola, but I quickly realized that only happened out of passion. So through meeting the right people and getting the ball rolling, I ended up starting the blockchain arm at Loyola. We're still a premature organization, unlike the clubs that some of our peers run, which you'll learn about. And that's because we just launched this semester and now all of a sudden we're forced to have like these virtual conferences. But other than leading the club and spreading awareness of this nascent tech, I'm studying computer science and I intern at Bolt Capital, which is a crypto fund based out of San Fran that's focused on making early stage investments into a bunch of different crypto startups.
Awesome. Yeah. That's very cool. So we'll talk more about, how you kind of got introduced to the space. And I just took a note to maybe ask people later, how important mentors are, right? That as a young person, blockchain didn't really solve any problem that you cared about, but you happen to have someone who kind of implanted the idea into you. And so maybe for the industry people watching this as well, can take note that a lot of this is on us to inspire the next generation to get involved. Let's go to Mitchell. So Mitchell is someone I've known for a while. He is the managing director at Crypto Briefing now. But before, you were working on your own journalistic projects. I remember that you interviewed me for a Women in Blockchain article. It was a really great article. So take us through how you got into blockchain and your kind of path from working on your own project to now working for one of the largest crypto news outlets.
Well, so before I even worked for the Crypto Slate, which wasn't one of my projects, I was one of their first employees, also working as the editorial manager, so doing a lot of similar work I'm doing now. Prior to that, when I first got involved in crypto, it was also through the route of mining. So initially, I saw that the margins for cryptocurrency mining were really, really high. This is back in 2017, where people were still making very good money doing GPU mining on a hobbyist basis. So I basically, between me and several other people, we invested our life savings into mining, and that's where I had my first real startup that raised a significant amount of money. So we raised $100,000 to do optimizations for mining algorithms, and that was particularly around profit maximization around different kinds of coins, and there were a lot more coins during the kind of ICO craze of 2017. So there's a lot more opportunity to do what we were doing, which was called computational arbitrage, which was trying to calculate where a single unit of computing power would have the most profitability between different coins. So we actually got beat to the punchline. One of the local companies here in Seattle got a lot more money invested into solving this problem, Core Scientific, and they're now a $1 billion company. So that didn't really pan out. And around that same time is also when I started the Blockchain Society at UW. So I just wanted to find other like-minded students who are really interested in actively applying something in blockchain, not just learning about it passively as spectators, but trying to build things around it. So talking applications or talking different ways to actually use Bitcoin for things that either in gray markets or places where more financial capabilities would actually be useful. So that led to my next job is the last year of my junior year of college, I dropped out to pursue this crazy startup in the United Kingdom, and I worked as a project manager. So I was later promoted to a manager there, and I was responsible for a team of 6 software developers. And that went pretty okay. And then they moved me over to India, and I helped them open a offshoring location, hired a bunch more people there. And after I got burnt out from working in Bangalore, I was just not culturally accustomed to the food that'll turn you inside out and the climate. I moved back to Seattle, and the day I landed, I got a job at CryptoSlate, like just kind of off the cuff. I wasn't really expecting it. And that's kind of how I got involved in journalism. Completely unanticipated, just good luck. So after working at CryptoSlate, I did that for about a year. I got another offer to work as the managing editor at Crypto Briefing. So now I'm the editor-in-chief of this publication. I hired about 6 of the journalists here and put together a crack team of journalists that try to bring Crypto Briefing back to the top 5 crypto publications, and I've been doing that since.
Yeah, so correcting myself, you were one of the first employees at CryptoSlate, not like a founder, but
I was an equity holder, but not a founder.
Okay. Yeah, so that, I mean, still super awesome. So your major wasn't in journalism?
Definitely not. I studied accounting.
All right, so started with mining, worked at a startup, got into journalism because of crypto. So maybe that's something also we can touch on later. Made a note about that as well, how that domain expertise in blockchain kind of opens the door to so many opportunities, even in things that you've never done before, just because you know more than the average person about blockchain. You can kind of enter into spaces a little bit ahead of other people, even if journalism wasn't your first, it wasn't your academic major. So that's a really cool point. So, and then to go along with this crypto journalism and people I've worked with in the past as well, Catt, we have on here. He was the founder of the University of Kansas's Blockchain Institute. They received a huge grant from Ripple. I know we talked about that. Maybe you can go into some of the work that you did at school and how you got into the job you have now, which is you're the business development and sales associate at The Block.
Yeah, happy to provide more color on my background. And also thanks again for having me on. I didn't actually, I thought I traveled a bunch to, try to get into the industry, but I didn't travel all the way to Bangalore. So, I don't think nobody's going to be able to one-up that unless, I guess, maybe China's farther away. But so a little bit about myself. I just recently started The Block about two months back. It's been a long journey to get into the crypto industry. I started basically my path began back in 2017 after I was sitting in an engineering class, and I was like, I was in thermodynamics too, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I always had a passion for, finance, fintech, and markets. My first stock purchase was Tesla back in the day when it was $30 a share, and of course I sold it at 110 for an iPad. Let's go on to the next subject. And so essentially though, I realized I was like, okay, there's no way that the finance can be as complicated as thermodynamics. So let's try to let's switch up switch up kilowatts or kilojoules for dollars. And then I realized turns out it was sats. My buddy showed me Coinbase, just pulled the app on his phone in class, and Ethereum was going parabolic in price. And I was like, this is absolutely insane. This is crazy. And I wanted to learn more. And that was kind of like, this is right back in 2017 when we all know about the boom, and it was pretty like, you have a lot of passion for something and interest, and at the same time you're watching your balances just go off the charts. And so there's a lot of adrenaline, feeling that passion, to put it that way. But, the problem being in Kansas is that you become absolutely obsessed with something, and you go down the rabbit hole, and then you realize that there's nobody to talk to it about. Like your professors, they cast it to the side. They don't think it's legit, or they, academics are known to think they're the smartest people in the room, and so, which usually they are. But in terms of crypto, I know there's a wide gap, right? And I think we all experienced something like that in university. But so from there on, I was like, well, let's find some kids that were, have similar interests to me. So I started a club. I think we, started club once. I had one meeting and then asked the guys if they're, say, hey, let's meet up again. And then nobody showed up. So I was like, great. And then my buddy told me to get some good advice. My buddy Sam was like, yeah, you do realize you have to do everything yourself to start out, right? Like you can't really rely on anybody. You have to like do everything on your own. And then eventually somebody, you build trust with, like, your colleagues, or, whether that be like, your teammates now, or you don't have the problem with university students. And we all have experienced this, is that you're not, unless you get, it's you got to treat it like a job, but nobody's getting paid. So you got to be able to find a way to, understand people's incentives, and like, what's their reasoning for being involved, and how do you get them to do what you want to do and be reliable and do good work. So from there on, I was like, in 2018, we obviously saw that, Ripple had a massive, university fund. And all at the same time, nobody understands how any of this tech works. So it's like, well, we should probably do like, rebrand from a club to a research institute, and try to shoot for some funding. And, we got fortunate to have some alumni that, that helped us out at Ripple. And, one way or another, we had $2 million in funding in January 2019. And that was a giant catalyst. My whole goal with starting the group was, how do I get a foot into the industry? And like, I'm jealous if anybody's on the coast or in Chicago, because you automatically have, a higher population, more the giant tech scene. In Kansas City, we have a tech scene, but it's not a digital asset or, crypto focused. So you got to bring the industry to you. So we decided to put on a digital finance conference, meet a couple guys, and we had a pretty good success. We brought in, just through networking, we found a way to make friends in the space, and people really appreciate when you fly them out and have them talk about their startup. And then from there on, found my way to, like this time last year, actually, it's probably on, this time last year, I was in New York City for Blockchain Week, and, just tried to make as many friends as possible, and made a lot of solid connections. And I bounced around a couple funds through internships, the Hack Fund, which is now like taking, they try to do an STO, security token offering. That didn't really pan out. Unfortunately, great guys, really smart guys, but so they're based in San Jose, so did work with them. Then ended up at Nebula Ventures like a year ago today. I met the fund manager, James Kuzinis, who now is like a good friend. We're catching up tomorrow. Unfortunately, Nebula's based in Sydney and New York, and James flew back to have a kid. Flew back to visit his family, and then he got stuck in Australia. So I'm talking for a while, but yeah, ended up bouncing around for a couple funds. Had some good luck, had some bad luck, but then finally, found a home at the block. And apart from working remote, like I'm sure everybody complains about, but that's, besides working remote, it's a lot of fun, and I've been learning a lot. And but yeah, that's my background.
Yeah. So what kind of stuff are you doing at the block now, and what do you think prepared you to be able to take a job like that?
So currently one of our initiatives is, we're building out a research arm, and in that sense, I mean that we realized that we had we started off as a crypto simplified approach, but for retail focused, and then there's a market capitulation, and we realized that most of our audience was institutions, whether that be VCs, from the biggest in the world to across the whole entire fintech space, like Goldman, to smaller VC shops. But then we realized that there was a demand for research and bespoke research, and how can you take complicated concepts and expand on them and provide deeper dives. But we have a human capital report that was commissioned by the Blockchain Association, which is a lobbying firm in Washington D.C. And essentially, they were trying to figure out how is the regulatory matters in the U.S. How is that affecting like job growth, and company growth and our jobs leaving the United States for more, friendly regulatory areas around the globe. And so, from a sales perspective, those are giant engagements. And I'm like, all right, guys, well, it's harder to sell that. It's a lot easier to sell someone if we take that up and, divide into 7 pieces. You can eat a whole pie, but you can also, divide it up and spread it apart. So yesterday we just launched an institutional market infrastructure, which when I was interviewing for jobs in the space, I realized that there wasn't a go-to source for institutional, knowledge of how the space operates. It was all in equities, and you had to go across and find parallels between the spaces. So essentially, that we were trying to provide a go-to source of knowledge on why is the crypto markets now, why are they now poised for the largest asset managers in the world to be onboarded? How's that developing? And we just launched the first installment today, like of a 7-part series. Might be longer. It's going to be rolling out through the summer. And it's brought to us by Ledger Prime. So Ledger Prime sponsored it, and they're really helpful on building out the knowledge base on with our research team being like, here's a massive, all right, we're going to try to define this landscape. How do we go about that intelligently? So Shalang was really helpful, fund manager, chief investment officer. So and then how was I prepared? I don't know, just not giving up. And that sounds pretty cliche answer, but you're going to run into a lot of hurdles. And you're going to have to, you're going to have to go the extra mile, literally. Like, you're going to have to hop on a plane and, do what it takes that nobody else is willing to do. Like, you could give up and, use excuses that say like, oh, hey, well, the industry's not in Kansas City. I can't get around that. The only way to get around that is to hop on a plane and go tell somebody you want to work for them. And I think my new CEO, Mike McCaffrey, was like, so like, you talk about the best programs, whether that be, Berkeley or MIT, why should we not hire somebody from them there instead of, you? And I'm like, because I go harder than everybody else. And, and it doesn't feel like work. And I'm sure we all feel, it doesn't feel like work. You can go hard when it doesn't feel like work. It does now feel like work sometimes. But, when you're having fun and enjoying your job, and you chase your passions, LeBron doesn't, I'm not saying LeBron, sorry, but LeBron, the best athlete. You do what you're good at, and the best athletes in the world, like they play basketball every day, not because like they want to be rich and famous. They play basketball every day because they love it, and so you got to do what you love. And when you do that, things usually fall in place. So
yeah, I think what I'm pulling out from what you're saying, if I can kind of identify from each person who's talked so far, what I think the biggest lesson is something about, kind of creating your own opportunities, right? You might not, and a lot of the students watching this aren't going to be from the Berkeleys, the MITs, but that doesn't mean that there aren't opportunities for them to become a hub of blockchain in their region. There's a lot of really awesome stuff going on at some of the Midwest universities that we work with. I just talked to someone from Loyola. They're just getting started, but like you threw a conference, right? You kind of created a networking opportunity in a place, that isn't a coastal city, that doesn't usually have a lot going on. So really, realizing that you have to be your own best advocate. You have to do it alone sometimes. If you want something done right, you got to do it yourself, and you are your biggest project. So take on that responsibility and then create your own opportunities if there aren't them already for you. So that's great lessons for our students watching. Another person. Oh yeah, go for it.
Just saying, always make friends. Like, that's how Roshan and I got in touch, was just like, we were like, hey dude, you're a fun person, and we're both trying to do similar things. So like, at the end of the day, the only reason I'm here is because my friends helped me out, put me in touch with the right people, advocated for me when nobody else would. So just, I guess, try to make as many friends as possible, and don't expect anything in return when you do a favor. Just do it because, you do things for your friends just because they're your friends, right? So invest in people.
Oh, definitely. I have, the leadership course on MouseBelt University site. I kind of built myself, and in the networking section, again, another thing that I pulled out from what you were talking about is the importance of networking, and I didn't understand it as an undergraduate, and even as a graduate student. Now that I've worked in like entrepreneurship and business, I kind of wish I had that education before I went to graduate school, because it is a career path and you do need people to help you through. I would have been a much more successful graduate student, I think, if I understood the importance of networking. And one of the things I talk about in that in that section is the 5-minute favor. And so I've kind of absorbed that into my life. Because I love working with students anyway, it works out really well. You know, it takes 5 minutes to like read over someone's blog if they asked you for some feedback, or to connect someone over email. You know, I do a lot of that when connecting students from across the world who are working on similar things. It takes 5 minutes. But that's the kind of stuff that really builds your network. And yeah, so I'm a big proponent of the 5-minute favor, always thinking about like how, when you meet someone at a networking event, try to ask them like, how can I help you? And your interactions are going to be 100 times better. So that's another thing I'll pull out there for this conversation is networking for sure. So let's move on to maybe someone else. Peter, he's over at Fordham University. I know that your club is much newer, so I'm interested to hear whether, you know, diving into creating a blockchain club on campus and all the work you're doing there kind of helped you get this internship you have now, or I know you're going to be working full time for them soon. Tell us about your background and the jobs that you're getting in blockchain now.
Yeah, definitely. So sophomore year, I was sitting in class with a kid, and he was over on his phone on Coinbase, and I really didn't know much about Bitcoin. I'd heard about it when I was trying to buy a fake ID. It was, you can either use Bitcoin or you could send it, shoot, I forget what the Western, the other way to send money. And I was kind of sketched out by Bitcoin. So I was like, all right, I went to like a bodega and I sent it that way. So that was the only time I'd ever heard about Bitcoins or anything like that. And this kid next to me was on his Coinbase account, and he was like, dude, I just made like 20 grand on Ethereum. And I was like, what is an Ethereum? And so, that he was like, dude, you should do it. And, for whatever reason, I was just feeling his energy. So I impulse bought some Ethereum just sitting in that auditorium. And of course, little did I know, it was the biggest boom of, it was during the ICO boom, late 2017. And so that couple $100 in Ethereum started doubling, and it started going up and up. And, I thought I was like, I had some secret that no one else knew. And I was really excited, and I was getting more into it, all this different stuff. And then everything started to come down. And there was a point where I woke up in the middle of the night and I like had to check the price of Bitcoin. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, I don't even know how this stuff works. Like, and I'm investing all this money in it, thinking that, I know about Bitcoins and altcoins and all that different stuff. So I sold everything. I was like, I'm not going to put another dollar into it until I actually learn about the technology. And at that time I was a finance major, and I thought, like I want to do stock market, things like that. And I slowly started to realize that that wasn't my interest. And as I slowly started to learn more about blockchain technology, and, I started reading Mastering Bitcoin and all these blogs, and there's so much information online, I realized that my real passion was in the technology. It wasn't in the finance side of it. So I switched my major to information systems. And that summer I was fortunate enough to get an internship doing IT risk advisory at a consulting company. It was my first corporate experience. And in the beginning, it was like the honeymoon phase. I felt like an adult. I was taking the train in. And then I would sit in this office with fluorescent lights, and I was like, I can't do this. Like, I need to find something else. I know I love technology, but I cannot. This is not the type of thing I wanted to do. So that was a great internship for teaching me that was not an industry or type of company I wanted to work for. And so on the train, I was, in the beginning of my internship, I was just watching TV on the train. And then I was looking at people around me, and I kind of felt like a bum because everyone else was reading stuff. So I was like, all right, I should start reading stuff. So I started reading about blockchain and bought some books. And I realized that like, this was something I could turn into a job. It was a real industry. And it was something that I would love to bring to the kids at Fordham, or the students at Fordham University. So that first semester, my junior year, I tried to start a club, and there were all these hurdles. Like, I think everyone here has experienced the hurdles, the clubs at schools and funding and all the intricacies and the hoops that they want you to jump through. And, it took like weeks for an application to go through, and it was like mind-boggling, because I was like, you could just look up this application, it's not that difficult. And then I got to a point where it was the end of the semester, my junior year, and they were like, well, there was someone else that also sent in an application, and we mixed your two up, so you guys have to start the club together. And I was like, I was kind of pissed off, but I just wanted to get the club started. So I was like, all right, I'll meet this kid. So I met this kid, and he just did not have an interest in blockchain at all. He had no clue what he was talking about. I mean, I don't prophesized to be some expert.
Why did he want to start a club about it then?
I think for the clout, to say that he started a club, so luckily he kind of just faded off and I was able to start the club myself. But I remember the first time I went to go get funding, they told me, they made me like promise that I was not going to use the funds to trade cryptocurrencies. And I'm like, listen, like it's more than cryptocurrencies. I just want to teach kids about blockchain, like there are real businesses using this. It's not kids buying fake IDs anymore. And so, I try, I'm definitely very envious of Michael getting that $2 million, because even by the end of my senior year, I'm still fighting to get pizza money. So, then I realized that I wanted to get an internship at a blockchain company. And so I was looking, there's a ton in New York, and I was fortunate enough to get one at R3. And so I started there doing market intelligence research. And when I went there, I was a little intimidated because I was like, I know, some of the keywords for blockchain stuff, but I know a little bit of how they work. I'm not a super technical person. And so I was really fortunate enough and I realized that, like blockchain companies have people that do marketing, they have people that do sales, that do, it's not just a bunch of engineers in a room that are super smart. They're all software developers and they know the technical stuff. There are people that actually need to sell these platforms and market them and things like that. So I did an internship. I've been interning with R3 over the past year. I just ended this month, and then I'm going to start full-time next month doing product marketing.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's what I love so much about working with students in blockchain, because I come from humanities, philosophy. I was kind of the last person you would think that would be like super in this like heavy tech world, but in working with students, I see so many, it's largely what you would expect, right? 60% computer scientists, data scientists, and engineers, but the rest of those people are law, communications, some environmental people, other philosophers, and you're totally right. Like if this is the industry that we think it is, or that it can be, it's going to take all types to build these products, market them, communicate communicate the importance of them, which I see like my role and the role of a philosopher in the space could be to like communicate why these are important, what the pitfalls are. So I love to hear that. Love working with such a wide variety of students. And I think another thing that you kind of brought up is maybe the importance of finding out what you don't like. Would you say that it's better to try to get an internship than worry about whether it's the perfect fit, so you can kind of learn that lesson? Or
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll say like because my school's, it's in the Bronx, so it's really close to the Manhattan. We had the opportunity so most kids do internships throughout the entire year from the time they're sophomores, juniors. So I was always doing internships from the second I got to Fordham. So I was able, it really wasn't about finding out what I wanted to do. I learned that internships were all about finding out what you really didn't want to do. That sounds like a little cynical. You're going into something, finding out what you don't want to do, but that's kind of what it ends up being. You say like, I don't like a big company, or maybe you say, I don't really like a really small company. I mean, hey, there are people that love corporate environments and the structure like that, and that's great for them, but that just really wasn't for me. And I was really fortunate enough, especially because we're such a finance heavy school. So I thought I wanted to work at one of the big banks. I was like, I want to do investment banking at JP Morgan or one of the big companies. And then I was fortunate enough to go to these meetings where I would hear people that were in finance, and I was like, this is miserable. Like, I don't want to do this. Yeah, that's definitely shaped my path a lot.
No, I don't think it's cynical at all. I think it's really smart. I think that with an internship, it's a little less risk than jumping into a full job where they're going to onboard you and spend a bunch of money to make you a full-time employee. Get those experiences so you can really know what you want when you do your real job search. And congratulations on starting a full-time position soon. So last but not least is someone I've actually hired who started as a blockchain student org founder and was really trying to build blockchain on campus and got involved with us on kind of an internship basis. And I'll let you like tell your experience, but I think one lesson you'll hear from Roshan is that the importance of just showing up and doing the work, because you know, he showed up super eager, wanting to learn and wanting to help us out, helping us for free, and he was the first person on my mind when we needed to hire someone to help on the university program. So just show up, do the work. But Roshan, tell us a bit about your background and how you came to work for MouseBelt.
Yeah, sure. Hey everyone, my name is Roshan Mirajkar, and I'm here in Washington, D.C. And yeah, so a little bit about me. I actually started off more with a technical background, and I would say the first couple of years just being in college, I wasn't really sure what I would be interested in. I interned in places like the Washington Post and, you know, created some interesting impact there. But I would say one thing is around my region, we were not really exposed to a lot of emerging technology. So a lot of the technology is consistent and outdated is what I would say. How I got into crypto is mainly through having really good friends from high school that were always interested in our own little group, interested in emerging technology or always being at the forefront of different things. Like I think one of my friends showed me Robinhood when it first came out. So we were always interested in investing. And then in the summer of 2017, one of my friends was like, check out Bitcoin or check out crypto. So I checked it out, and then kind of having a technical background, when I first saw it, I didn't really think it was that interesting per se. I just thought, okay, it's just a different way to transmit money or different things like that. But that summer, after I gave it more of a deeper look, I realized that, you know, the tech is really solid, I always thought, but after my thought after that was, why isn't this technology being adopted like faster or quicker? And then from there, yeah, I just fell down the rabbit hole, started reading everything I could, discussing with my friends. I really didn't look at the price much. I was really interested in more in the technology because I always had an interest in like generally like what is money and these different topics of conversation. So thankfully I had good friends, and we decided to start a student-run org called Blockchain at Mason here on the East Coast at George Mason University. And then from there, like many others have mentioned, we sort of had to do all the work ourselves in terms of putting together the students, putting together the website, the content, and really it got good examples of organizations like Blockchain at Berkeley, seeing how students could organize. And I just thought it was a massive opportunity once I realized that I didn't sort of want to work in those traditional technology jobs, you know, whether it's being like a Java developer or something like that, because I thought it's a lot of competition, and I didn't think it was necessarily that interesting to sort of do repetitive work. So I wanted to learn something new. And that's when we started the organization. And I think one of the things while starting the organization is I realized is in order to kind of get a job in an industry that's not really mature, it's kind of like had to establish yourself somehow, establish that trust. And a student-run org was a really good way of doing that, kind of piggybacking off the established academia. But of course, there was a big gap of education where academia was always behind. So we sort of took that responsibility on leading emerging technologies in an area where not many people naturally cared for that type of technology, but I knew there was talent. So that's sort of what drove me to do that. And then from there, I immediately, that sort of helped me gain pre-existing relationships with a lot of companies in the space, like Blog Geeks, like MouseBelt. I was actually one of the first ambassadors at Blog Geeks, and I worked for like a fintech consulting firm, Fintech for Good. So mainly what I started to do was help a lot of these companies bridge the educational gap, because they didn't really understand how to use the technology, or they didn't really understand the differences in the technology, right? So from there, I was always involved in different ambassador type of roles where I was doing that sort of thing, but it still didn't really fulfill my passion of actually being in the industry itself and sort of being more on the ground and actually talking to different people in crypto. Because I think one unique thing in this space is you sort of can't really progress far or do a lot of interesting projects unless you naturally network with other people. And actually, the way I discovered even MouseBelt was through another student named Laura, just talking to her on LinkedIn. And that's how like me and Michael even connected just on LinkedIn, and like we did podcasts and different things like that. So I find it really
Oh,
interesting.
Laura was doing your job that you're doing now.
Yeah, I just find it really interesting that a lot of the people on this call, you know, we've all connected sort of before and just spoke about general things. And slowly we've all been able to have our own inroads in the industry. And then, so yeah, basically after that, I was always involved with, you know, MouseBelt. I had my own startup, different things like that. And yeah, that's when Ashley messaged me and hit me up and said, you know, it's kind of expanding the MouseBelt University program. And that's when I came on as the university program assistant director for about 4 months now. So it's been really great because now I'm sort of more involved in the space, and, you know, get to create a lot of new initiatives that there's not really a template for. So that's sort of what I enjoy, you know, creating new initiatives that don't really exist. And we get the opportunity to sort of be the leaders while we're young. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. So something for any of the students watching who might be considering, you know, going into blockchain, is that there's that opportunity to really create because it's so new. You like are having a huge hand in building the MouseBelt University program. Your footwork that you've already done in DC, you know, might end up building some kind of, you know, DC blockchain initiative with us. And you're able to like drive so many new conversations that I might not even be able to think about, and really make this industry what you want it to be. So I think that's something, a point for anyone watching why I like being in blockchain now, is it is such a new industry, and you have the opportunity to make what you want out of it. So we got to hear from everybody, kind of your background, what you're doing now. Just kind of listening to some of the points that I think kept coming up, which I've already mentioned before, how important it is to have people who know more than you to inspire you to find that you like blockchain, right? Like some of you would have never been interested in this if your dad hadn't taught you about mining, or if your friend hadn't encouraged you to do that. So people in the industry who are watching, people in blockchain who care about adoption, who care about education, who care about more talented developers getting into the space, what have you, really encourage you to become mentors to these people, to get involved with something like MouseBelt University. If you're your own company, you can hear from all of these people the struggles that they're having getting blockchain programs started at their university. There's all of these passionate people who want to learn, who want to teach others, and they just need resources. So I definitely encourage everyone in the space to if you don't know where to start, I would say that I'm probably the number one person as far as what's going on at blockchain at universities. Get in touch with me. Let's start diverting some of there's a lot of money in crypto. Let's start diverting some of that back to some of the hardworking, passionate people who are going to be the future of this space, who are going to build this space. So I just want to highlight the importance of like mentors and industry support when it comes to blockchain at universities and preparing the next generation of people in the space for their careers. The other thing that I liked hearing from this conversation was how many of you like don't have technical backgrounds, or you started in finance and now you're in journalism, and just what an opportunity there is for career flexibility and just a lot of different kinds of jobs from devoting yourself to having that domain expertise. It's such a hot job skill right now that if you invest some time in self-educating, in taking these courses that are at your schools, in diving into the space, and even just interning or volunteering, or just showing up like Roshan did and saying, hey, I just want to help, and that turned into a job, that you will have a lot of opportunity, that investing in being an expert in this hot job market is going to be really valuable for yourself. The other thing was how important networking is. Do a little Google of the 5-minute favor, absorb that, build it into your life. I promise you, go into every interaction thinking about how you can help that other person, and you will just see your network grow. And all of the people on this call are a testament to that. You've all interacted in the past. In the future, we'll probably be hiring each other or starting startups together. So your network is your net worth. I really believe that. And just how much of all of you are just self-starters. You all founded your own blockchain clubs mostly. You realize that no one was going to create these opportunities for you. So also want to emphasize how important it is to invest in yourself and to make opportunities happen if there aren't any that you see around. Make your own opportunities. And yeah, that was just some of the lessons that I got from hearing from all of you guys. Thank you for sharing. Maybe
Ashley,
yeah.
I was saying, as a professor, I think you'd agree that your GPA just really does not matter at all. Obviously don't care about your classes. Think about, ask yourself, why are you sitting in this class right now? And think about, all right, well, what's actually going to be important, and what are they going to be teaching in 5 years? And then, that's always pans out well. So I just want to chime in that. And I'd say, like, you think you're late, or maybe you think you're late, but you're not. But maybe it's a good idea for students to think they're really late, and that makes them go extra hard. Because I always thought everybody always thought they were running late. We were like the last to enter the space. Like, look at the market caps are already look so high. Like, obviously these things can't go any higher. But really, you're actually early. So keep that in mind. Definitely.
Yeah, light a fire under their asses, right? You are late, so hurry up.
Right.
But not too late. Don't worry, it's never too late. Yeah, I would say the point I made before about wishing that I had some entrepreneurial education before I went to grad school, is that, yeah, the GPA doesn't matter, and the traditional academic model does not prepare you for real life, where failure is not only a regular thing, but it's an inevitability. Because when you fail in school, it's like, in high school, like, if I don't get good grades, I'm not going to get into a good school. If I don't get into a good school, I'm not going to get a good job. Every failure is so overblown, and we don't get to learn, like, how important it is to fail and to build from that. So yeah, we have someone on the call who dropped out of school. Right, Mitchell?
I tried. I'm schizophrenic, so that conversation didn't go over well.
Yeah.
Well, we finished in like 2 quarters. I'm just taking classes online. Like, the dropping out of school for me wasn't a big deal, because it's not something that's definitive. You can always go back.
Right. Yeah. No, I definitely don't. We are in that kind of Silicon Valley mindset of VCs where we're a VC, right? We want to invest. We want to find the smart kid and invest in him, so he drops out of school and builds the next Facebook, right?
When people ask me about it, I never recommend that they ignore their grades or they drop out, because I'm here looking at the averages, and under the assumption that people are overconfident in themselves. I always think that you might do better than expected, but the But the thing is, you never hear about the failures. You only hear about the successes. You only hear about the Steve Jobs and the Bill Gates. But what about all the other people who dropped out and failed? So just manage your risk appropriately and make sure that you're making decisions that, if you do fail, it's not gonna be the end of your career.
Yeah.
I wanna quickly add, like, especially for like blockchain and crypto being so nascent as it is, there's no cookie cut path to succeed, right? Like we heard accounting majors go to journalism. We've heard, like, finance majors go, like, so it's like there's no cookie cut path to succeed, as there is for all other professions. So like I'd say the best thing to do is kind of have this be that type of side hustle where you kind of just soak up all the knowledge, and hopefully it might take you somewhere, like how we heard with Mitchell's story or Michael's story, so even Roshan's. So I think the beauty of it is, like, you just got to utilize your time properly and like learn all of it, and then kind of exploit the knowledge that you get.
And be ethical about it too. I think that's the one thing that crypto, some people claim they invented Bitcoin. Questionable. That's all I gotta say.
Oh yeah.
It's like there's a lot of people there. There's a lot of scam artists out there. A lot of BitConnects that people that are trying to pry on the hard work of other people that others do. But at the end of the day, you got to be if you make that's the point of making friends. No one makes friends by screwing people over. And doing business, that's being ethical is the. If you're gonna be unethical, you better not get caught, or you better be like so sly about it. That's like if this was illegal, is it legal? I don't know. Like I could rant forever, but just be keep that in mind.
Yeah, so kind of naturally ended up having you guys giving some kind of last advice, but maybe we can go through one by one. What would you tell students out there, if you can condense it into a soundbite, or maybe what you would tell your younger self, what you might do differently? So your last word of advice for any students watching as far as how they can break into blockchain, or something you wish you had known a few years ago. Let's start with Peter.
So I would probably say the main thing is not get like intimidated by the technical aspect of blockchain and everything. I remember first reading about it, and I was like, elliptical curve multiplication. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to get into this. I don't know how this works, but just like, as long as you're able to touch on a lot of different things, and you understand the concepts, the high level concepts of how things work, that's a better step than people that never even read about it. And there's so many, now today versus even a couple of years ago, there's so many great reliable news sources online that are actually talking about this. So there's, there are a lot of scam artists. Don't get a lot of your information from Twitter or these, scammy guys on YouTube. I mean, they're fun to look at. You could take them with a grain of salt. But they're, just start reading about it. Just get into it. I mean, there's so many free online courses and things that you can do that, you're not going to learn in classes. I remember bringing up blockchain to a lot of my professors that were teaching databases, and they were like, databases can do that. Like, you don't need blockchains. So, don't listen to the convention of the education system. It's very helpful, and it helped me get a lot of opportunities that, I have, but do your own research. College, you have unlimited downtime. And so take advantage of that for sure.
All right. So Peter's advice is to do a lot of self-education. Don't be intimidated by the technical aspects, and don't expect to get the education you want from university. You might have to do it yourself. So awesome. Thanks, Peter. How about Mitchell? Last words of advice.
Yeah, have initiative. You can drift through college and wait for opportunities to come to you, and that's a recipe for being dissatisfied. If you take the initiative and build something that is best fit for yourself, then you can have a satisfying career, satisfying opportunities, and you'll have a lot more experience doing things that are outside your comfort zone.
Great advice. Thanks, Mitchell. Michael.
Yeah, I think that having a mentor is really important, and you can never have too many mentors. People, it's kind of like, when we're trying to get people to support your student initiatives, you really milk the fact that you're a student, it's for the kids. But that kind of like, that empathy that translates over to like, having mentors and people that want to, take you under your wing and be like, all right, this is how it works, man. Like, I'll save you a lot of heartache just cut through all the BS and, show you how deals get done, and how to be most efficient. So, always seek out mentorship, and also know when to take profits. It's important.
What would maybe one practical advice you would give for finding mentors?
Ooh, how did I go about it? Honestly, just find people that are willing to invest in you. And so if they really, honestly, like for me, it was like, all right, will they give me the time of the day? Will they like take time to, explain things to me? And I guess that one question, like you can, you find a mentor when they ask you, so what do you want to do? Like, who do you want to be? You can go this route, you can be this route. Usually people, like my buddy was like, either you're going to be a trader or you can be a VC guy. But usually, the mix is rare. Usually you're good at one thing or the other. It's like type A versus type B. So like those kind of, when you can kind of see, like those are the type of questions you keep an eye out for, and just asking questions and investing in people, and they'll more than surely give back if you guys get along. Now my mentors are my good friends. So a year from now, these guys they're intimidating by their experiences, but they're like, oh my God, you're getting into crypto now, man. I'm jealous. So, keep that in mind.
Absolutely. Roshan, last word of advice.
I'd say study up on your crypto and blockchain knowledge more than the charts, because that'll pay off more. And I would say focus on creating a voice for yourself in the space, because there's different takes everywhere, and there's no experts right now.
That's an interesting point. So you're kind of saying like, you need to have a voice. Like, what is it that you care about, and who are you going to be in blockchain?
Right. Like, there are no established experts or frameworks established. So have a voice and sort of create it yourself, because we are actually all part of creating that voice and the infrastructure. It's not really there for us. So that realization, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's hard for students because I think they're still finding their voice, and they're still understanding like what they care about in the world in general. So the sooner that you can start really diving into that self-growth that needs to happen, that's going to be good for your career too. So great advice, Roshan. Adam, last word.
Yeah. I'd say, like, to add on to the fact that there is no cookie cut path to succeed in blockchain and crypto, I'd say consistency is extremely important, and I think it's really underrated as well. Like we all know, Naval Ravikant, like great philosopher, thinker, he always says like all great things in life come from compound interest. So I think just being at it every day and trying to give 1% better every single day will be far more fruitful than just kind of like, slugging by, trying to, I'm going to have to learn blockchain. It's like finding that passion, just showing up every day, being consistent. And like 1 year, like we've heard Michael's story going from, in Kansas City to flying out to New York, talking to different funds. So I think it's just all about consistency and, being hungry and trying to chase it.
Yeah. And then it becomes manageable, right? Just do a little bit every day. And this is all just stuff that people have to learn as they go through school. And I think young people just don't really know how to do that always, but, just have a goal and then work backwards, right? Cut it up into steps, do a little bit every day. And that compound interest will happen. So I want to thank everybody for joining the panel. You guys are all super inspiring. It's awesome to see how, you took initiative, built something for your school and for the future. And now that you're leaving it, are building something for yourselves in the industry, getting really great jobs and internships. I hope that this inspires other students to do the same. And I'm sure that anyone watching this, if you want to get connected with these people, if you want to hear more, if you want a mentor, reach out to me at MouseBelt University, and we'll help get you plugged into the space. So thanks everybody. And now back to Reimagine 2020.
Yo, can we do a Telegram? We should make a Telegram. Y'all seem like fun people to chat with.
You're tuned in to Reimagine 2020. Stay tuned to learn more about the state of the art in blockchain education and technological development all around the world. Reimagine 2020.